Hi guys, so hopefully you're all here to watch the tutorial on the eyelashes. There may be a slight time delay, it just happens with these things, but I'm going to show you how to put the eyelashes in. There she is, on Marie. And usually I do this with black, but I'm actually going to show you in this brown. So hopefully you can hear me. Like I said, there is a delay. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to do it using the sewing method. So we've got one long piece. And we're just going to do that, so we've got one giant loop is now this. So you're going to separate it off into quite tiny sections. So you want it quite fine, don't want anything too big or bulky. So realistically you're going to take it down into about this. So take your scissors and just trim the ends off. Now I use this one, which is about 3.5 inches long. And it helps if you make the ends wet. Pull off any extra ones that didn't go through. Occasionally you'll get a couple. So you're going to do that. It's got a really long piece. I'm going to change the angle and put it down so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So here we go, we've got Marie, the little victim. With the sewing method, start just in from a corner and take it down and just keep pulling. And when it gets to about this length, pin it against the head. Now come back up through the neck and gradually feel for a space in the eye. I don't know if you can see this. Just over. So not next to, you need to leave a gap. And pull it back up till it's quite tight. And then hold it up against the head. And you just repeat that process. So I'm going to go onto the side closer to the corner this time. Take it down through the neck. So then, same again, back up through the neck, find a little space to the opposite side, pull it back up. So I don't know if you can see. Really, really easy. So keeping that held in place. Again, go down the opposite side to the one you just came up. Then back up the neck. You'll be seeing the gaps, so it's quite easy for you to just maneuver the needle to where you need it. So there's the gap, and that's where I'm bringing the needle up. So as you're doing it, you can see any little gaps, so you know where you need to come in and fill. Again, opposite to where you've come out, go back in. So again, keep it against the head, checking for any little gaps. Then come back up. Obviously be careful where you put your needle because you don't want to pierce your eyeball. So if you wondered what I just did then, that's because I noticed there must have been a couple of little leftover eyelashes in the head which were black, and they came up with the hair. So I've just cleaned them out by using the end of the needle. So again, just check for gaps or where you think you might need to fill in a little more. Go in. And down. Again, you can take your needle and you can brush them so you can see how even they are, how thick they are. So I'm going to put in one more, and I'm going to put it in over on this corner. And as you can see, it can be a bit tricky because I want it in a certain place. So just feel your way around. There. And bring it up. So you're left with looks messy. Now you can cut them with scissors. For example, I'm gonna just trim them down a little bit. So they're long and bushy looking. Then I find generally baby nail clippers will give you a really good shape. If you're worried about cutting these too close, these will make it easy for you. and they'll give you a really nice curved shape. So you go in, there we go. And you can leave them longer or keep them shorter, but I find if you do worry about using scissors, these make it so easy. So there we go. Anybody have any questions? Hi, Laurie. So that's the really easy sewing method. Now the knot method gets a little bit more complicated. To be honest, it didn't actually take that long. I started out with using the knot method the same way that I reroute a head. So once I'd learned how to do a head, really it was a no-brainer to do the eyelashes. It's just tricky, just to get the needle in where you want it, but feel around it. If you've got a lot of resistance, you know you're not in the right place, because obviously there are holes for the original eyelashes. So it didn't take very long. I could probably do a really good set within about 2 days. So now I'm going to show you the knot method. Much more long-winded than that. If the eyelash area does get torn, then I personally would suggest that you use the knot method. And while I don't recommend glue inside a doll at all, with the knot method, put a tiny bit of super glue on when you're about to pull that hair up, and it will just seal in a gap, enough for you to do the next one. And you can fill it in that way. But if you've got a split across the top, then definitely go for the knot method with a tiny bit of super glue that I suggest you put on with the tip of a pin, so you don't put too much in, and that'll grip and that'll fill the split. So for the knot method, again, you just want a small amount. You don't want a big, bulky. So that's a little bit thicker than I'd like, so I'm going to take some out. And it's the same as if you were going to do knot hair. And you make your little knots. This one's quite small, so I'm actually going to double knot it. Then get your scissors and just trim as close as possible to the knot. So for the knot method, you don't need the super long bit. So you need enough to double over to pull up through the head. So I'm going to cut this one about there. And obviously you're going to have to make a few. So I've done 4. You're going to need some cotton. I always use a contrasting colour to the colour of hair that I'm either rerouting with or doing eyelashes with. So double it over, take your needle and just pop your loop through. With the knot method, you can start from either side. I wouldn't recommend starting in the middle. I like to start on one end and then move across. So going the outer edge, down the neck, pull it out, hold on to your cotton and let your loop go. If you open your loop, and pop your eyelash through, then you simply draw up the cotton and pull it up, and that's in. So, and that's as easy as that. Again, thread, so you've got your loop, go into your next available space, come down, let your needle off, open up your loop, pop your eyelash through. I always tend to put the knot in between my fingers and then pull up. So, and you can see them going in. Like I say, this way is the longer way, but I'm a creature of habit, so this is my personal preference. So pull it through, drop your end, open up your loop, hold on to your hair and pull it up. And you do that all the way across. So I'm just going to make up a couple more. Again, try and keep them about the same thickness. So Tie your knot. Trim off the excess. If you want to, sometimes just for quickness, you can just knot the whole strand periodically. So, and then cut them above each knot. So you've now got 4 more ready to go in. And later on what we'll do is we'll also post up a discount code so that you can use it in the shop if you're short of supplies or there's anything you need. We'll sort that out for you shortly. So anybody in watching the tutorial today can come in and grab a discount. So in through the eye, down the neck, open up your loop, pop in your eyelash, and pull it up. Yeah, if you don't like obviously poking it up this way through the neck hole to try and find the holes if you're doing the sewing method, this way gives you much more control over where they're going, and you're also not stabbing the inside of the head. So, and as you can see, this way does take longer. Open up your loop. Pop it through. Pull it up. It's exactly like rerouting with the knot method. It does take time. And I'm actually putting in really, really fine ones on this one. And I always find things are much easier if somebody shows you what you're doing, as opposed to reading it in a booklet or just having a bash. And you get the little hints about using things like baby nail clippers too. both ways that you do it, make sure that your plugs are roughly the same size. So for example, if I do one and I'll just show you. So this one's going to be thicker. So I'm going to put in a thicker one. So you'll see the difference and why it's quite important to get them pretty much all the same size, or as close to. So you can see if you put in a bigger one, it just looks odd. So that's why you do need to be careful about getting them all roughly the same size. But just for quickness, I'm gonna just put in some thick ones because I'm going to take all of these out again anyway. So if you need to see where they're going or where you want them, just let those strands go and you can see where you've got a gap. It just makes it easier to see. Choose where you're going to fill and then just pin those bits against the head again. So again, you can see the gap. Once they're in and trimmed, both methods pretty much leave the same effect. It's down to personal preference as to which way you do them. Pop one more into the corner. Alright, I'm going to take that out, because as I'm moving the cotton I can feel that I picked up one of the knots in behind, so there, so that went through smoothly. You can feel that it hasn't picked up any of the other knots. Otherwise, when you pull it through, you're going to take out one you've already put in. So again, you can choose to use your baby nail clippers or some small scissors. Oh, I don't like those. Let's swap to a different pair. And this side I've left slightly longer, as opposed to the ones I cut shorter on the other side. So you can change the shape or the length. And if I turn it this way, you can see the difference just there. You can see the difference between the thinner plugs and the thicker plugs, and that's why you need to make sure your plugs are pretty much the same thickness. Because unlike the sewing method where you can guarantee it, when you're putting them in individually, it does look a lot different if you have the different thicknesses. So that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, I don't know if any of you have difficulty getting eyelashes out. Again, I tend to use a little tool for that. So, and they come out just as easily, no matter if they're rooted or if they're sewn in. I'm just gonna So I'm just going to grab one and I'll show you. So I tend to use one of these. And literally I'll pop it inside and gradually ease out the eyelashes. So you can see they come out. The only time that you're going to have difficulty getting them out is if glue's been shoved in the head. But that's why if you do have the split and it's only a tiny bit of super glue, then, and you find that, or they're stuck, or my tip for that would be to get some acetone, dip one of these, yes it is a dental tool, There aren't too many holes in there. Occasionally they do split. I'd probably say there's a maximum of about 8 to 10 holes, so it's not too bad at all. But if you find that you've had one that's got glue up in the head, then dip one of these in some acetone, again pop it up, just hold it on the back of the eye briefly, because otherwise it'll seep through, take off your eye paint. We don't want that. And again, with the tool you can scrape it out. So I tend to keep these in the shop, and we'll pop up a discount code for you later on this evening. So all that work we've just put in, we're now taking out. So any little straggly bits, again just some tweezers, you can just pull out the odd hair that's lacking. So now we're back to one with and one without. And I also use this tool for stripping out all the old hair. It's fantastic, it gets in all the little places, and it's less chance of you ripping the scalp when you've got something that you can get exactly where you need to and you're not just going all over the place. So there we go, that is the tutorial.